Hello, I'm Bill Murdock, President and CEO of McDonough District Hospital. This is our podcast, Buckle Up with Bill. So buckle up and let's go. Today, my guest is Dr. Richard Mitter. We're happy to have him on Buckle Up with Bill today. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm originally from Oklahoma, moved to Missouri early in my childhood, and my father was a physician, raised in a physician family. He was a late bloomer and didn't start till late in life, and moved into Illinois area following my son, Seth, who was a coach at Western Illinois, assistant coach for the women's basketball program, and was in a career time that needed to make a change or was ready to make a change, and they needed physicians here in Macomb area, and so talked with the CEO at that time, and here I am. I've been here now for 9 years and enjoying it.
Yep, great. And why did you go into healthcare? Seeing my father and his work and so forth, it helped with that. But honestly, I originally went to college wanting to be a veterinarian. And I went to Oklahoma State University to begin with, came from a really small school and community, and there were more people on my dorm floor than that single floor than there were in my high school, and there were more people in that dorm than there were in my hometown. And I kind of, a small country boy, got lost and thought I was pretty smart because I didn't have to study in high school, and found out that it was different in college. And then my father had some health issues during my freshman year in college, and between my poor grades and my freshman year in college and my father's illness, I moved back home and went to a small college, which is now Truman State, and started improving my grades and got along well, and then applied to medical school. Yep. So my dad said, hey, why don't you go to med school instead and come help me out? And so that's what I did. Okay, so you practiced medicine with your father?
I'm very fortunate. Yeah, I had a great person to learn from. My father and I practiced together in a small community rural practice for about 10 or 12 years, and then he was also an anesthesiologist, and then he went out on it, started doing that solo, or stayed out of the family practice, and I took care of the clinics after that point in time. Right.
And was it an independent practice that was it you and your father?
I was a private solo independent practice, and that's a dying breed
Right.
nowadays, especially in medicine. And like I say, we were in a small rural community. I was there for 32 years. My father started to practice back in '66, originally when he got out of med school. You just don't see the independence out there because the regulations and the different criteria that we have to be met, it's difficult to make that. Mm-hmm. And I was actually having difficulty with collections and billing just because of private solo.
Yeah. And so it made sense for you to come over to MDH and kind of be relieved of those duties of billing and collecting and all that, right?
Yeah, and I enjoy not having to worry about where my paycheck comes from, I'll be honest.
Right, that's my problem, right?
Yeah, exactly.
right. Right. Well, we're great and excited to have you here at MDH, and we've gotten to know each other over the past few years, and we have a lot of good laughs and all that, and really appreciate that. One thing I learned today, and typically doctors don't embrace technology that well, right? But I hear you like using AI with the dictation system and makes your life a lot easier. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, let me rephrase that a little bit. Old doctors don't like new technology as much, and of course it's kind of like old people. We hate change. But we've started a system that we use to help with our medical records, and electronic medical records is probably the biggest headache that myself as a physician seem to have in us older generation. To give you an idea, I used to see 35 patients a day and would do it easy with a written chart. Today, if I see 18 patients or 20 patients with electronic medical records, it's a nightmare day. And it's just because of the extra time that it's involved. But the new system that we've got right now is really cool. I use my personal phone. It goes through a system that goes into the computer. It doesn't record anything or stay with anything. It uses artificial intelligence, and we'll take the conversation. It's like if we were
if we were to use that system for this thing, it would record the whole conversation that you and I have. And the neat thing about it is, at the end of it, I will put a diagnosis down, or different diagnoses down. It will put in there each thing that I've talked about or what I've done about those diagnoses. It'll talk about your physical exam, because I explain that as we're going along. The cool thing is, I'll walk out of that room and I'll have a printout that I give my patients for things that I dictate to it at the end to let them know what's going on, what they need to do. And that doggone note will be in a chart ready for me to look at within a minute or two. Right. And it saves me probably 10 minutes a chart because of the way it can go through it. So sometimes technology is good, but you got to teach the old dog how to use it.
Right, right. And you're doing that all while the patient is sitting there in the room with you, right?
So,
right.
So if I was doing a physical exam, I would something like head anormocephalic, your eyes, the pupils are equally active, or extraocular muscles. I would listen to your heart and lungs, and I would mention the lungs are clear to auscultation bilaterally. Heart regular rate, maybe you have a murmur. It's a 1/6. And so forth. And I just go down the body, and it will list that out in that physical examination.
Will it pick up if you make derogatory comments about the CEO and all that?
You know me well enough that I get sidetracked on things pretty easy. We get talking about the Cardinals or Chiefs especially, or something else like that, and it doesn't put it in there. So it takes that off. And then other people can be in the room also, and when I come in the room, I would say, well, this is patient Joe, and he's with his wife here at this routine appointment. And when she speaks, if it's pertinent to the medical issue, it'll put it in that HPI. If she speaks and asks something off the wall that it doesn't make any difference, it doesn't put it in there. So it recognizes that. And even on my diagnosis at the end, when I've talked about what we're going to do for that particular diagnosis or so forth, or if I even say maybe just we're going to stay on your blood pressure medication such and such, and their diagnosis is hypertension, I didn't tell it to put a wording underneath that diagnosis. It puts it in there for me.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
Oh,
it's just amazing.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Because I had to go back in manually and do that before.
So you have to watch your language all the time now if it's being recorded?
Actually, it won't put the bad language in there. So.
Okay, just checking on that, because I'd like to see what you say about me in private, but it doesn't record that, I guess.
You won't find out.
I guess not. What are some of your biggest challenges that you face today?
Insurance.
Okay.
It's really frustrating. You know, I went to med school, I went to postgraduate training, and this is my 42nd year of practice. And yes, I've forgotten a few things, but I've learned quite a lot over that period of time. And to have somebody in insurance that maybe has a high school education at the most, sometimes just a college education, and because we didn't meet these check marks so that I can get your study done, they don't allow it. So they're telling us how we can practice medicine, what we can practice medicine. I prescribe a medication, example, say you're a diabetic. There's a new class of medications out that are several different diabetic medications that are awesome. I'll use a brand name that people are familiar with. Jardiance is one of them. It's a wonderful medication. It's also great for the kidneys, and also they found out it even benefit for their heart. And so I want to put these patients on that because most of my patients are in my age category or even older. And so we would like to protect those kidneys and that heart. But no, the insurance said, no, we won't pay for that one, but we'll pay for this other one that's been out for 36 years and has adverse effects on the kidneys, can cause other issues, but they tell us what we can practice. And that's frustrating, very frustrating.
What do you like to do in your spare time outside of work?
I like to go to Chiefs ball games. That's one of them. I like to cook, and the only trouble is the reason I like to cook is I kind of like to eat, and that it may show just a little bit, but I enjoy that. I enjoy my family, my grandkids. I just recently moved up. I have a place on Little Swan Lake, and moved there full time. Grandkids come up. The grandson's crazy about fishing, and so we're getting into fishing. And granddaughter loves to go tubing, and so we go tubing, and so have a good time.
So there's a rumor out there on Monday mornings after the Chiefs lose on Sunday night that nobody speaks to you or says anything. Is that true?
Not for the first 20 or 30 minutes anyway.
Okay.
The good thing is that doesn't happen all that often here.
Well, not lately, but
it does happen.
they really didn't do very well in the Super Bowl, did they?
Well, no, but they had even though they made it to the Super Bowl, they had a great season though, right?
They got there, so
yeah. So that's wonderful. You mentioned too about living out in your resort community, and is that what you call it, a resort community?
I just call it a community. I didn't think it was resort, but that's
what I call it. But anyway, someone also said when you retire, you're going to start a business called Dr. Ribs and Cactus Beans. Is that true?
That's probably my son. It was somebody else that may have mentioned that. Because of my cooking, I make a really good smoked ribs.
Okay.
And so the joke is, so he's also got a place that they're starting uptown here, and they're going to have little booths set up inside this mall area. And he says, Dad, it would be really good if we could get you to fix several ribs and make your beans and have them up here. So I may end up doing it. They'd like to call them Doc's Ribs, and then I call my beans cardiac beans because they got sausage, bacon, brown sugar, beans, and actually apple pie filling inside all of this concoction. They're pretty good.
Well, sounds like it. I'm kind of hungry right now. That sounds great. So we've had a lot of conversations too. You, before you moved to Illinois, you farmed on the side.
Yeah.
You started that. I found it terribly interesting that you started that up. You didn't have really an ag background of any kind, but you just learned it on your own and started buying equipment and farmland and all that. And you have cows. Yeah. You still have cows.
I have still have about 90. I think last count was 97 cows. I've got 5 bulls, and my nephew back in Missouri takes care of the cattle day in, day out. So I don't have any actual connection day. I used to work cattle and work with them, and with my medical schools, I could do pretty good at injections and different things like that. The farming side of it, I grew up in a rural community. I grew up in a farming community. I was actually in high school. I was actually president of our local FFA, and was involved in that. I would talk to my, I'm a talker, so I would talk to my patients that were farmers. And how, what are you doing here? How are you doing that? And this and that. And then I actually got to where I subscribed to a couple of farm magazines, and I would read and I would study, and I enjoy reading things that are interesting to me. Yeah. And so that's how I learned somewhat how to farm, and the rest of it was by trial and error.
Oh, sure, probably a lot of trial and error, right?
So I bought a farm the first time, about 350 acres, and then it was working out, and bought another piece next to it. And so I was farming with the help of my brother, who was basically doing the full-time work, and I was implementing helping weekends and times like that, but also with making most of the farming decisions to speak of, and we were farming about 400 acres of row crop. It wasn't anything big, but enjoyed it very much.
But you were balancing that with your work life too, right? And taking care of all that.
Hey, that farm helped me balance my work life, because if I was having a bad day or a bad time, as long as the equipment was working like it was supposed to, you put me in a tractor and I'm a happy dude.
Right.
Even today, when I drive down the road, and it's fall time or springtime and they're working the dirt, I get the smell of that dirt, and dang, I'd like to get in a tractor pretty bad.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the past, like if you smell dirt or whatever, you get excited about it.
Yeah, and some people look at you, what are you talking about smelling dirt? You go down the road and they're working dirt, if you know what you can smell it.
Right,
And it's got it's not a bad odor, it's got, it's got a different odor. So it gets me itchy. I want to start planting some.
Yeah, well, the technology in ag's changed so much too.
So I actually got into some of the GPS stuff before I quit, and it was really cool. So we also did some work with a neighbor that farmed quite a bit more, and traded some equipment off, and then some of my brother would also do some custom work. So I had a self-propelled sprayer that he would use a lot, and we used GPS on it to help out, because you're looking at a 100-foot boom going down through there at 9-10 mile an hour. Right. It's kind of hard to tell exactly where you're spraying or overspraying. So the GPS made a difference. So.
Keeps everything on track. And
now you got GPS sitting on your phone, so it's like it's a little different.
Well, now they have drones spraying everything. Now it's all GPS driven and all that.
It's all a whole lot costlier than it used to be too. So
exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. So did you have a professional mentor growing up, or not growing up, but in your work life when you were?
My father was the biggest one that I had. So I never forget the very first day we started in office.
Dad took me back to his our office, and the room off to the side, and set me down and said, I'm really proud of you. He said, I've been looking for this moment for a long time to have you as my associate and partner. And he says, you've had the training that's newer than mine. And he said, if you ever have any question about anything or wonder why or why I'm doing this or anything like that, don't ever hesitate to ask. He said, but just remember one thing. And I said, what's that, Dad? He said, I'm always right. He was talking about himself, and he hit me on the backside and said, I'll get your ass to work, and away we went.
Okay, there you go. Oh, that's a good story. So when I was researching this interview and everything, so I was looking up on the MDH website, and I found your picture and everything, and it was a much different individual than I'm looking at today. What happened?
He got older.
Okay. I just wanted
and probably gained a few pounds on top of it, and then grew a beard with it to go too. So that's probably even that picture there.
It is that picture.
Yeah, it's like, and they keep telling me, there's a gentleman in the booth right now, Pat, that keeps wanting me to take a new picture, and I said, why do I want to do that? I said, this one looks better than the old one, so the new one will.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So I see a lot of it in the cafeteria. I'm not talking about food, but a lot of times we have lunch together and all that. And there's a signal that I follow when I'm looking over there and seeing you sitting. If your arms are flailing around and all that, it's like probably not a good time to, to interrupt you, because you're very passionate about everything you do. Is that a fair statement?
That's a pretty fair statement. Okay. It's not hard to read my feelings one way or the other. You know. And the only time sometimes my feelings may get read improperly is they may think I'm upset, and I'm really not. And I have a hearing impairment, and I wear hearing aids, and I still don't hear the best in the world with them, so I talk loud to begin with. And then if I get excited about something, I even talk louder. So that excitement could be because I'm upset, but most of the time it's because I'm excited about it,
Right,
and so I'm passionate about something, and so my voice will kick up a notch.
Sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes I watch you drive into the parking lot too, and for some reason you don't follow the lanes, you cut across the parking lot too. Do you ever realize that you're doing that? Are you late, or are you just anxious to get to work? Or
I'm trying to miss those damn speed bumps.
All right, okay. Well taken there.
Yeah, they're needed. I don't. Hey,
some of them are needed.
That's why I. Yeah.
Okay, touche on that. I'll give you credit on that. What other hobbies do you have? You like the Chiefs. You like to cook. Your grandkids.
I tried golf, and I never took enough time to be good at it. So my clubs have been in a storage shed now for 3 or 4 years. Yeah. I really don't have a whole lot of other hobbies, to be honest with you. Work and family's been my hobby for most of my life. So,
sure.
Yeah.
And you're staffing right now. We were talking on the way over about some of your staff and how stellar they are, and we're very proud of that group and what they do. And we had your nurse practitioner at the board meeting. She couldn't say enough good things about you, and your son, who's a board member, also mentioned that you gave her a compliment as well, and he said, my father doesn't give very many compliments, so that really means something to hear that. So,
and that may be a downfall on my part, but when I do compliment somebody, it's truly meant. And Brittany Taylor is an excellent nurse practitioner, and we have other nurse practitioners that are helping out some too, and they do a wonderful job. Dr. Waters has just joined us recently, and very proficient in his field. We appreciate him there. And then, Family Clinic has finally got to a point, and I shouldn't say finally, but we haven't been staffed for a long time, and finally we are staffed, and we've stayed staffed, and it makes such a difference. The engine runs so much smoother, and I tell them all the time, it starts from the front desk and it ends with the front desk. And so those gals up there, they are your first impression, they are your last impression, and so in a way they're your most important impression, and they do a good job for us. And then I've got an MA Hannah that I put up against anybody.
she's a sweetheart of a person. She cares about people, but she also knows what I need next, what I'm thinking next, and so forth, and thinking ahead. So we've worked together now for 4 years or a little bit longer, and I really appreciate her.
Yep, they're a great group.
Yeah.
They're a great group. So once you retire, do you ever have any desires to be a CEO of a hospital?
I wouldn't have your headaches or anything in the world.
Okay, I just want to confirm that.
So no, I'm not coming after your job. Not at all. Actually, what I would like to do, other than enjoy life, but I've always wanted to, and I just never taken the time. But I'll have time then. I would like to do some mission work. So. Samaritan's Purse or something like that is an excellent organization, or other different organizations. I feel blessed that God's given me a talent to be able to help people when they need help, and there are people around the world that need a whole lot more help than we could ever imagine. So I would like to enjoy doing that.
That's great, and I never knew that about you, but there is such a great need in third world countries or whatever for medical assistance and all that, and you do a great job with that.
As long as they can talk to me, I'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I can understand them.
Right.
But I look forward to trying to do some mission work. So
that's great. Yeah, there's a lot of satisfaction in helping others, right? Well, you've done it your whole career, right? You're always helping others out, right?
Try to.
So,
Yes, we try to.
That's great.
And we're not, every day you don't save a life, but there are some days that you make a difference in that life. And most days you should make a difference in everybody's life. And you don't have to be in the medical profession to do that either. So, just the way you meet people on the street, the way you meet people in the grocery store, we're supposed to make difference in lives. We're supposed to take care of each other.
Right. And I think, being from the Midwest in this community, it
makes it easier.
It makes it a lot easier, and people care and all that. So that's wonderful.
I don't meet too many strangers.
I bet. Yeah. Right.
I meet some strange people, but I don't meet too many.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we have for today. Thank you, Dr. Mender. I appreciate it. Everything you provided for us today, and thank you for everything you do for MDH.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for joining us for Buckle Up with Bill. This is Bill Murdock. We'll see you next time.